You're listening to the Back Porch Talk podcast. Danny and Jason had many discussions and debates on the back porch while making pivotal investment moves with assets. That's right, with trading cards. They welcome you to the back porch and right into those discussions about current sports news with a fresh and unique twist. So come on and join us. Welcome to the Back Porch Talk podcast. I'm your co-host, Jason.
This is your co-host, Danny.
And we have a fun-filled show for you today. Listen, we're going to talk about the NFL playoffs, talk a little bit about the NBA. Then we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening down in Houston. A little Coach Prime and HBCU football talk, and a very interesting trading card scenario for you. But first, to the NFL playoffs, Danny, the wild card weekend was very intriguing. The Colts season ended against the Bills 27-24. Rams versus the Seahawks 30-20 in the Rams' favor. Buccaneers and the Washington football team, where the Buccaneers prevailed. Ravens versus the Titans. Ravens went ahead and won on the road. And Saints versus the Bears, 21-9 in favor of the Saints. And then a very surprising performance by the Pittsburgh Steelers that ended up ending their season against divisional rival Cleveland Browns, where the Browns prevailed 48-37. I remember this game for me actually watching something entirely different. And I was like, okay, well, maybe first 5-10 minutes, I'll watch this other show, and then ultimately I'll turn the TV on over to the other channel where the game is on. And as I did that, I flipped over, and next thing you know, it was 21-0 in Cleveland's favor. And I called my brother-in-law, who is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I was like, man, what did I miss? What in the world happened? He's like, man, I done turned the TV off, man. I can't watch this no more. I was like, dang, in the first quarter? Just what a surprising performance by the Pittsburgh Steelers, the fact that they didn't show up. And now there are questions obviously swirling around, what is Big Ben going to do, especially with this big contract? So the offseason is going to be very interesting for the Pittsburgh Steelers. By Seattle actually losing against the LA Rams, which was an awesome performance by the defense of the LA Rams. I will have to say this, Danny, because now the Rams go into Lambeau Field against the Green Bay Packers, and oh boy, what a matchup that is going to be. You always hear the phrase, a matchup within a matchup. This is an epitome of just that. Man, this the whole Devontae Adams-Ramsey matchup. Yes. I am so looking forward to this. Aaron Donald against the Packers offensive line. Man, this is just going to be such a good game. And I'm so nervous for the Packers because the LA Rams defense can travel. What's going to be very interesting, what a lot of people are not talking about, on the flip side, the Packers defense against this Rams offense, and where Goff's thumb is going to be a factor in that cold weather. Yeah, the LA team going into a cold weather climate, coming on the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field.
Oh man, stop!
This is going to be an intriguing matchup because defense travels, man. So I am so looking forward to that matchup. I'm also intrigued by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the New Orleans Saints this coming weekend as well. That is going to be such an intriguing matchup. So I am not interested really in Kansas City against the Browns at all. And I'm really not interested in the Bills versus the Ravens. Although I think the Bills will prevail in that game. Kansas City will prevail in that game as well. I'm not so intrigued by AFC matchups this particular weekend. But, man, the NFC is going to be on fire this weekend, man. What say you, Danny?
First, starting with that Packer game, how lucky is it that You guys get a banged up Rams offense coming into
Man,
Green
stop
Bay.
it, man.
Goff can barely throw. Cooper Kupp is hurt. I'm curious to see what the Rams do this week, actually, if they're going to run Akers more, knowing that the Packers defense is not the greatest against the run. I'm very curious how the Rams offense performs. I think their defense will be all right. It depends. Aaron Donald said he's good, but he didn't look good coming out of that game last week against Seattle. I see Green Bay winning this game just based on the Rams are coming in banged up. I am intrigued, though, by that Ramsey-Devontae Adams matchup as well. And I'm assuming he's going to travel with Devontae. That'll be my thought, but we'll see. As far as the other games, I have to disagree with you. I am looking forward to these AFC games as well. Just looking at how Baltimore played last week and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen going head-to-head, the Ravens' defense actually is healthy. So Buffalo shouldn't even be in the second round right now, truth be told.
What?
Indianapolis blew that game last week. All those miscues they had, and
yeah, true.
They had a lot of opportunities to put the stake in the heart of the Buffalo Bills, and they just had too many mistakes in that game. They're a good team, but I think Baltimore has some momentum coming in. So I'm very intrigued by that game Saturday night. Cleveland, Kansas City game. On paper, it doesn't look good, but I think Kansas City hasn't been beating teams like they should be. And the way Cleveland came out last week, they're not going to just lay down for the Kansas City Chiefs. And you always look at, too, those bye teams. That's the other thing with Green Bay, too, not having to play. They get the rest, but do they have some little rust on them? So I'm especially in that Cleveland game. So because they're going to be on cloud nine, they're getting some people back. So I think that's an intriguing game. I don't know if it'll be close at the end, but I think it'll be intriguing. And then, like you said, Tampa Bay, New Orleans. This really pains me to watch this game, but I am actually pulling for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because the Falcons can't stand the Aints. I think it's going to be really close. If I were to do predictions, I'm going to say Green Bay. I'm going to take Baltimore to upset Buffalo, Kansas City, and then Tampa Bay.
I'm thinking that the Bills-Ravens game, I'm thinking that might be a blowout, man, Bills' favor. For that Kansas City-Cleveland Browns, I'm calling for a blowout in that one, too, in Kansas City's favor. That Tampa Bay Saints game, I can see that be a very close game, possibly even in the overtime, or it's going to be like a last possession type game, maybe in the fourth quarter. The Packers-Rams game, man, that's going to be tighter than what people was giving it. Packers are favored by 7. I'm giving it maybe a 3-point game. Yeah, that Rams defense, man. And I'm going to say this too. I think there's going to be a special teams play that is going to really turn the tide. And now the college football playoffs. Alabama rolled tide, went ahead and rolled up on the Ohio State University. I can't even call them the Ohio State after getting rolled up like that. I'll just call them Ohio State University. And that particular game, championship game, we're looking at 52-24. I was very close in my score prediction. It was just a game too late. I had predicted 52-17 when Alabama faced Notre Dame. It ended up being 52-24 in the championship game against Ohio State University. Let's just say this, man. The Heisman Trophy winner just really went ahead and showed out in the first half. He only played in the first half, played in the second half where he messed up his hand there and was out the rest of the game. But, man, he did his damage in the first half. Just an awesome performance by him, man. I mean, every time I looked up, it was like he was just separating from the rest of the secondary. I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal. I'm calling him Mr. Smith, Mr. Heisman Trophy winner, Mr. First Rounder in the upcoming NFL draft, where he had 12 receptions for 215 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half. I mean, come on, man. Alabama went ahead and did it. Congratulations to the young student athletes for persevering throughout this season of COVID and dogs. So Nick Saban goes ahead and gets another one, passing up Bear Bryant. Alabama team, I don't think is the best Alabama team. By far, I think the defense is not as good as past defenses. But, man, that offense is wicked. And they are even comparing it to last year's LSU record-breaking offense. So, man, this was just a beatdown of great proportions on an Ohio State team who, and the fans know this, man. Y'all know my feelings about Ohio State. Listen, I don't think they should have even been in the Big Ten championship game based upon the rules that the Big Ten established at the very beginning of the season. Ohio State only played 5 games. They were able to get in to the Big Ten championship game based upon a ruling by the Big Ten. They had to reconvene, make a decision, and put Ohio State in. I just think that that is just such a showcase of privilege to a university that, yes, they have money, yes, they have prestige, and yes, their stadium and program is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, the money can go to other Big Ten schools if they get to the championship game. But is that fair? If you establish a rule at the very beginning of the season, you change the rules in the middle of the season, stripping away an Indiana University team and a Northwestern team who basically deserved to be in a championship game. And yes, yeah, Indiana University lost against the Ohio State University. Okay, but they abided by the rules. And if we don't go by any type of rules any longer, I mean, what kind of conference, what kind of program, and what kind of example are we actually providing to our up-and-coming student athletes and up-and-coming young adults? Congratulations for them to make it thus far, because they did beat down Clemson. I'm happy that Alabama did beat Ohio State purely because of that rule.
Jason, there isn't really much to add. I think from the Ohio State side of things, Trey Sermon getting hurt early, not to say it would have impacted the game that much, just based on how Ohio State's defense was looking, but that hurt them initially. And then 2, Justin Fields. So, you know, he had the 6 touchdowns against Clemson, but he looked like a different player against Alabama. As we approach the NFL draft, I'm curious where Justin Fields will be selected.
Mm-hmm.
Based on the recency bias of the last performance. If he would have had the Clemson game as his last game of his college career, then I think it would have been different. It would have been a no-brainer. But now there's some question where he may not be that number 2 quarterback off the boards. More to come as we go. But yeah, congratulations to Alabama.
And now to the NBA, and where there was a blockbuster trade. And Danny, what do we have?
Mr. James Harden, after his diatribe on Tuesday night, after the Laker game, after they got blew out, calling into question the talent on the team and a couple different things as far as the organization and all this other stuff, he gets traded to the Brooklyn Nets, and it was a 4-team trade. So blockbuster is definitely a word to explain it. So the Nets received James Harden. The Pacers received Karis LeVert from the Nets and a 2nd-round pick. The Cavaliers received Jared Allen from the Nets and Taurean Prince from the Nets. And then the Rockets received Victor Oladipo, Dante Exum, Rodions Kurucs, 4 unprotected first-round picks, and 4 unprotected first-round pick swaps. There was a lot going on here. And the initial trade was Harden to the Nets and LeVert to the Rockets. But then Houston flipped LeVert to get Oladipo, with Cleveland being involved as far as making the trade work. What are your feelings about the trade?
My feelings are all over the place on this one, man. First, let's start with the Nets. With the uncertainty of Kyrie Irving, I think the Nets decided just to really go ahead and pull the trigger, man, because they needed something to kind of fill the gap made by Kyrie and also made by Dinwiddie being injured. Interesting move by the Nets, man. I honestly believe they gave up too much. Jared Allen is a huge defensive threat, and I just don't think having DeAndre Jordan back there really poses to be much of a threat. So that is going to be very interesting, man. And when you think about the times that Giannis has gone against Jared Allen has blocked Giannis straight up. And Giannis has dunked on Jared Allen too. Mm-hmm. But that, man, I think they kind of gave up, meaning the Nets gave up too much of their bench there. LeVert, man, he was coming into his own. He was really coming into his own. And maybe the Nets were thinking, well, we give up LeVert. We're giving up some offense here, but we're gaining offense with James Harden. if I were the Houston Rockets, I would have just gone straight up with getting LeVert.
Mm-hmm.
Having Oladipo, I just don't know, man. Oladipo, very nice guy, man. Good heart. He wanted out of Indiana, and I just don't think though. I just don't know about him in Houston. We look at the contract; he's going to be up for a contract up next year.
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense, Houston's going to possibly drop Oladipo. We just getting Oladipo for 1 year. That's just an interesting, makeup there. Pacers did very well in this, getting rid of someone who didn't want to be in the organization, but getting a Terrence LeVert who is, man, just balling out of his mind. I think the Pacers are going to be a huge problem, man. You got Sabonis down low doing the grunt and grit work. You have Brogdon, who's having an awesome season. Hopefully he can stay healthy. And then now you have a Terrence LeVert on the wing. Man, the Pacers have done some nice things here. And I would even say the Cavs have done some nice things, getting a defensive presence in a Jared Allen. And so now you have Jared Allen and Drummond down low. You got Drummond getting the rebounds. You got Jared Allen defending. That is going to be a very tough matchup for anyone. So I think the Cavs and the Pacers did a very good job. Small market teams doing a very good job in this particular blockbuster trade. For Kyrie, listen, I really hope the best for Kyrie. I stated it in our previous podcast episode. Listen, Kyrie is a phenomenal talent, but there are a lot of players who are like a Christian Wood, who are really on their grind, who travel the world getting cut in various leagues, seeking opportunities. If Kyrie doesn't necessarily appreciate that, you gotta give somebody else the opportunity. You just can't go ghost on an organization. You just can't not return a call from your coach and the governor of the organization. Say that you appreciate it. I think it would have been different if there was a conversation like Kyrie calling the governor and calling the coach, hey, y'all, I just need some time to myself, whole lot going on my mind or whatever. I just need some time. All right, Kyrie, we just going to say it's going to be for personal reasons. You give us a call back when you feel good, but we are going to check on you here and there. So please just answer and pick up the phone so that way we know that everything is okay. That could have been the conversation right there. But yet we find ourselves in this position. And so interesting drama as the Nets turn. Mm-hmm. And so I just think that the Nets, we'll see what happens there. The Rockets, okay. I mean, I think they were better without James Harden. The Rockets have a nice squad, man. They have a nice nucleus. C. Wood, you got Boogie. PJ Tucker. I just think that the Rockets are going to be very, very good. That's what I think of the trade, man. What about you?
Well, Jason, as I texted yesterday, I'm going to start with the Pacers. I thought they won the deal. You get rid of Oladipo. You bring in Karis LeVert, who still has 2 years left. Someone who is hungry and just got shunned by the Nets. I don't know if you've been watching any of their games lately, but when Kyrie's been out and when KD was out, he was carrying the team. And he did that last year too. So I thought the Pacers got a steal actually by flipping him for Oladipo. So you don't have the contract stuff to worry about, any of that drama right now. So they can hoop. And Miles Turner's been hooping too, leading the league in blocks. So they have a good thing going in Indiana. Cleveland, I thought that was a good deal for them. You pick up Jared Allen, you pick up Taurean Prince too, another defender, good role player. So it gives them some bench depth. The Rockets, I have a feeling they're going to flip Oladipo at the trade deadline. When I saw that, I'm like, all right, unless they're in contention, they don't want to mess up chemistry. But if it's like, I don't know if we're going to make that 7 to 10 range to get in that play in, I can see them flipping Oladipo because he's an expiring contract. So if you want to get something for him, if you know he's not going to resign, my thought is they may flip him and bring in different assets so they don't have to commit to him for a long-term contract. And then the Nets, I think their bench depth is where it's going to be a problem for them because that's what's carried them, honestly. And they had proven players who've been there been in the playoffs. So now you break that up. Granted, you're bringing in a superstar. You're bringing in James Harden. But how is that going to translate once you get to the playoffs? And you need that bench depth. Or if one of them gets hurt. I was thinking when they did the deal initially, I was looking for Kyrie's name for going to Houston. I was like, so they must be trading Kyrie, but they're not. So I have mixed feelings on the trade for the Nets. I think obviously if they get Kyrie and he's in the right frame of mind, great, but they're all ball dominant players. Kyrie is not a facilitator. He's a ball dominant player. He's a scorer. He plays out. He's a handler. He can create his own shot. KD's the same way. Harden's the same way. So this is where they're going to need somebody to facilitate the offense. I'm assuming it's going to be Kyrie. It's going to be very intriguing to watch them play throughout the year.
And let me just say an interesting stat here, man. So, yes, James Harden is still owed mega bucks over the next 3 years, but he will have to pay about $13.6 million in taxes over those 3 years more. So, that move from Houston to Brooklyn, man, that's going to be a hit on the pocketbook. Obviously, Texas doesn't have that state income tax, so a little bit different. But hey, he wanted it out. He's been in Houston for a little bit of time, won it out. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. And now, as we're talking about Houston and kind of going back into the NFL, we have got to talk about the Houston Texans, man, and what's happening down there in that organization. Man, I just really, really feel bad for Deshaun Watson being really caught in this particular situation, and where an organization is not really stepping up, coming to the table as best as they can. There are reports that Deshaun Watson isn't satisfied with the way the organization is really managing things right now. A few of the players have come out and spoke via Twitter, ex-players as well. One player in particular who rarely talks, that player is none other than Andre Johnson, where he tweeted, "If I'm Deshaun Watson, I will stand my ground. The Texans organization is known for wasting players' careers. Since Jack Easterby has walked into the building, nothing good has happened in or for the organization. And for some reason, someone can't seem to see what's going on. Pathetic." That is telling, man. And so I had to look up, who is Jack Easterby? He was named the executive vice president of football operations early 2020, January 2020, being promoted to the role after joining the Houston Texans. Man, this is just a pathetic mess, man. For the organization not to hear from your star player in terms of possibly what coaches to talk to or GM to talk to. You already traded away earlier in the season Hopkins, who is from Clemson, where your quarterback is from Clemson, and you decided to trade away an all-pro wide receiver. Not only that, but you now have J.J. Watt speaking up. And, man, this is just an utter mess. You have both of your superstars speaking up. Honestly, man, I hope that both J.J. Watt and Deshaun Watson gets traded and get the hell out of Houston. I do not want to see those two individuals waste away their career. It's just mind-boggling because Houston was at one point kind of right there.
Last year.
Yeah. It's just mind-boggling, man. So I just really hope the best for J.J. Watt and Deshaun Watson getting out of there, man. Arian Foster even has said some things too, man. So it's just a real mess in Houston, man.
It's a toxic environment. Jack Easterby brought in his boy as the GM from the New England Patriots. And it's just a lot of interesting dynamics going on here, where he was a team chaplain and now he's worked his way into this new role where you don't know if Bill O'Brien was truly pulling the strings now behind or making the calls on some of these things. So he was that face, but was he really making these deals? So that's where a lot of this too, I'm curious to see if there's more information coming out. But everyone's trying to put Deshaun Watson as the one that's responsible for, with him wanting to have input on the coaching hire and the GM. But I think there's more behind this and more will come out. So for his sake, I hope Deshaun Watson does get traded, and just to get out of that environment, because he's only 25 years old. He's a great quarterback. He has a bright future.
Mm-hmm. We'll see what happens. And now to a little bit about HBCU football. Danny, I went ahead and attended a Orange Blossom Classic virtual forum on yesterday evening. And full disclosure, I am on the executive board of the Florida A&M University National Alumni Association. Let me just say that my comments are solely mine and not that of the executive board of Florida A&M University National Alumni Association. I attended the Orange Blossom Classic virtual forum, and it was absolutely amazing, man. This forum had both university presidents on there. It had the VP and athletic directors of both universities, the band directors of both universities, Uncle Luther Campbell. He came on, man, and he's obviously an avid FAMU Rattler fan. It was good seeing Uncle Luke, man. He has done so much down there, man. I just don't think people realize how much he has really done. He indicated, he coaches football. He's been coached for like about 17 or so years. He's gone to multiple championships, Pop Warner championships. He has seen a lot of his kids actually go to HBCUs, play in HBCUs, play for some great schools, and even have gone to the NFL. And he's done that consistently for 17 years, man. And it is just absolutely amazing what he has done, man. And it was just so good to see him, man. His story does not get told nearly enough, man. Yeah, Uncle Luke, had his rap group in the Two Live Crew. He started off as the DJ, all that stuff, man, and just, worked himself up, man. And
he was an independent too, Jason. If you remember,
yeah,
he did his own thing. Everything was out of his own pocket.
Yep.
He distributed. He did the CDs. For all of you old schoolers that know CDs, he did it all. And I agree, man. Some people need to give him his flowers while he's here, because he's done a lot.
He's done a whole lot. Got to give him nothing but props, man. He was on there, but it was just absolutely amazing to go through this virtual forum. And then you had I believe she was like the director of the Orange Blossom Classic, to come on and give us the lay of the land, if you will, about all the events that's going to be happening Labor Day weekend, culminating to the big game against Jackson State University and Florida A&M University on that Sunday. And then we had the coaches come on, the football head coaches, that is. Shotgun Willie, the head coach of Florida A&M University, came on, did his thing. And then we thought we would see Coach Prime. Apparently, there were some technical issues on his end. There were instances where people thought they saw him and didn't see him, or whatever case may be. Not a good look, Coach Prime. Not a good look. And you got dragged in the chat window, man. For you to be on Instagram, on YouTube, on social media, really pushing your squad, and not come to this virtual forum promoting 8 months in advance the Orange Blossom Classic, that is a travesty. For those of you who don't know, the Orange Blossom Classic is a phenomenal classic. It started way back when. I won't go into the historical nature of it, but nonetheless, it stopped. And then it started back up. It was supposed to happen last year, but COVID messed things up. FAMU and Bethune-Cookman University ends up going to the SWAC. And this is the very first SWAC game for Florida A&M University and the first game for Coach Prime. And so this is going to be an amazing matchup, in where Coach Prime is coming back to his home state, right down the street from Miami. And this is going to be huge because Jackson State travels very well, and they are hyped. We are hyped, meaning Florida A&M University is hyped, as always. And this is going to be a huge classic. Money is going to be flowing because you're going to have, hopefully, the COVID situation subsides, but you're going to have a lot of people there. You're going to have sponsorship there. You already have a group at the Orange Blossom Classic, taking in sweet orders and ticket orders. It's already happening 8 months in advance. And for Coach Prime not to show up, that's huge, and that speaks volumes, man. So I also have to say that the SWAC commissioner also came on too. So this was a great virtual meeting, man. And I just had to say, Coach Prime, that's not a good look.
Did he have wireless like Nelly in the versus battle with Ludacris? Where Nelly was pausing and all kinds of stuff.
Hey, look, man, he was getting dragged. People were like, man, he probably on set doing another commercial or something like that, man. And now we have an interesting trading card scenario. What do we have, Danny?
So, Jason, tonight our trading card scenario is Shawn Kemp's 1990 Hoops rookie card for Blake Griffin's 2009 Topps rookie card. Couple quick bios for you, Jay. Shawn Kemp signed a letter of intent to go to the University of Kentucky. Did not play with Kentucky. Transferred to a community college. Never stepped foot on the court at the community college. He ended up going to the draft and being the 17th pick by the Seattle Supersonics in 1989. Blake Griffin went to Oklahoma. Was the number 1 pick by the Los Angeles Clippers in 2009. Shawn Kemp, as some people know him as the Rain Man, played 14 seasons, never won a title, was a 6-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA, averaged 14 points, 8 boards and assists, and made it to the championship against the Chicago Bulls in 1996. For those of you who saw The Last Dance, and where Gary Payton said he was going to check Jordan, that's where that came from. Blake Griffin has played 11 seasons so far. No rings, 6-time All-Star as well. He was the Rookie of the Year and 5-time All-NBA, where he's averaged 21 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists. So, Jason, in the back porch, which card do you want in your portfolio?
Look, man, the fans know where I'm about to go with this. The Rain Man, Reign, came right out of high school onto an NBA court. In doing so, had a very successful career, man. One other note, like you said, he went to a community college. That same community college also had Nick Van Axel, and that community college is Trinity Valley Community College down somewhere in Texas. So Nick Van Axel, who is from Kenosha area, also went there. So very interesting piece of fact there. But nonetheless, in that 1989 draft, okay, I'm just going to name off some names here. Never Nervous Purvis Ellison, the number 1 draft pick. Danny Ferry, Sean Elliott, Glenn Rice, J.R. Reed, Stacey King, Pooh Richardson, Nick Anderson, Mookie Blaylock, Tim Hardaway, and then Shawn Kemp got drafted. But I'm going to take it a step further, man. I'm going to give you some more names in this draft, man. B.J. Armstrong, Blue Edwards, Vlade Divac. These were foundational pieces in championship runs. These names, they were very prominent in college, and where they actually stayed in college for 2, 3, maybe even 4 years, and then went to the NBA and made a name for themselves. And so, again, these were foundational pieces on very good teams that ended up going, in some instances, going to the NBA Finals and even winning championships and all. So I say that to say, man, look, man, this was a very hard decision, man. I'm not even done analyzing it. Shawn Kemp, Rain Man, was just dunking on fools, man, especially when Gary Payton got drafted, I want to say about a year later.
Yep.
And that combination was lethal. Although it doesn't seem like Shawn Kemp really scored a lot, you got to look at the entire team that he had. You know, I mean, he had some veterans on in the squad. He was just a nice, good athletic piece to put in there, and he found his niche. And then you bring in Gary Payton, and then you get a good coach in there, and to go into the NBA Finals against Jordan and the Bulls and win 2 games. That says a lot, man. The grind was real in Seattle for him. Everybody knew about Shawn Kemp on SportsCenter back then.
Yes.
The way that he was dunking on fools, he had those power dunks, man. It really reminded me a little bit of Dominique Wilkins and his power dunks and all. You know my affinity towards Dominique. Shawn Kemp was the real deal. The Rain Man was the real deal. And compare with Blake Griffin, who is the number 1 draft pick. Looking at college, he was known in college, man. He was like All-American in college, all that stuff, man. Won awards in college, all that, right? Number 1 draft pick, the whole 9. He can also jump out of the building. I mean, he won slam dunk contest, primarily the one where he jumps over the car, all that good stuff. In his draft, I'm gonna say this in his draft, okay? 2009, he was the number 1 draft pick. We don't know what happened to the number 2 pick, Hasheem Thabeet. The number 3 pick was James Harden, Tyreek Evans, Ricky Rubio, Steph Curry later on in that draft pick at number 7. DeMar DeRozan. Ironically enough, the Milwaukee Bucks chose Brandon Jennings. You had Tyler Hansbrough, who I believe was the best player in college at that time. But then you also have Jeff Teague, who was drafted then. Taj Gibson, DeMar Carroll. You have so many good players drafted in this draft, man. And Blake Griffin is number 1. This was a tough one because Blake Griffin was jumping out of the building too. You have Lob City in LA. Oh man, he was dunking on fools, man.
Daily.
Oh man, and this one was a hard one, but I'm gonna say this: the fact that the LA Clippers did not advance to even the conference finals says a lot. Where versus that of Shawn Kemp, not only going to the conference finals, but beating 2 Hall of Famers, John Stockton and Karl Malone, and getting to the finals and playing the Chicago Bulls. And that year, they even won 60-plus games.
64, I believe.
And won 2 games in the finals. So, and there's some thoughts by Jordan about that, right? But nonetheless, a win is a win. It's on there. It's in the books. So with that, man, I'm going with Shawn Kemp, Rain Man, because, honestly, that nickname is off the chain. The Rain Man. I'm going Shawn Kemp all day.
Well, Jason, I also agree. I think this is a tough decision. I'm looking at the cards now, too. Can't forget the cards. The thing that Shawn Kemp did, I think that gets lost, was his defense. He would fit perfectly in this NBA because he could guard multiple positions. And the same thing with his dunks, he was also throwing people stuff off the glass. They're coming in. So he was a great defender. And his game, like you said, they had a lot of shooters on that team with like Dale Ellis and Detlef Shrimp, Big Smooth, Sam Perkins. So they're deep. They had a good squad. And he was a key component of that squad with him and GP. And then you look at Blake Griffin. You wonder if part of the reason they got held back was all the turmoil from the Clippers organization and what was all going on behind the scenes there. Even though they had a lot of talent, they had CP3, they had DeAndre Jordan in his prime, if that impacted them. And Blake doesn't really play defense. He's a heck of an offensive player now, and he's banged up now. So a lot of people can't appreciate what he looked like when he came out of school. And his athleticism was off the charts. All that being said, I'm going to take Shawn Kemp's rookie card, have my portfolio. It's very close. I think they're very comparable, but I think Shawn Kemp just had a more all-around game. And the era he played in was a tough era.
There you have it. Thank you for joining us at Back Porch Talk Podcast. You can also join us on Twitter by tweeting us at @back_podcast. For more information, you can go to our website, which is backporchtalkpodcast.com. You can also email us at backporchtalkpodcast@gmail.com. Again, thank you for joining us, and remember that there's enough hate in the world, so go ahead and spread a little love.